Hi, I'm Tristan, and I'm running for City Councillor at large in the great city of Peabody, Massachusetts. So for those who aren't really in the know, this is Peabody. It's a city of some 55 to 56,000 souls about 30 miles north of Boston. It's got an industrial history. It was once known as the leather capital of the world. And for a long time, this led to a lot of good things like high union membership, quality infrastructure, stable neighborhoods, a real sense of community. Like other mill towns in Massachusetts, Peabody was hit hard when the factory started to close up shop and go overseas. But unlike other mill towns, Peabody had a proximity to Boston and certain transportation hubs that really kept it afloat economically. It's been able to keep its sense of small town community alive as it's grown, and that's pretty impressive. And I'm gonna tell you, as somebody who's lived in other places, other cities can just be a place to live, but in Peabody you can get that real homey feeling, and that's like, good. So, who am I? Am I connected to an old and powerful Peabody family? Nope. Am I the mayor's friend, or have other close connections in the city government already? No. Did I even grow up in Peabody? Afraid not. I'm pretty much a nobody from nowhere. But Peabody's been a place where I've been able to raise 4 kids and really lay down roots. But let me tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in a place called Freetown, the village of a sonnet, if you want to get real technical here. And I spent my formative years being raised by a single mother in a trailer on my grandfather's farm. If I were a better politician, I would probably tell you like a story about how I pulled myself up by my own bootstraps and was able to overcome poverty and hardship and a family legacy of substance abuse by my own force of will and raw mental candle power. But I'm a shit politician. And besides, anybody telling you that sort of story is probably lying. I remember as a kid having the realization that even though I lived in a trailer, even though me and my mom didn't have a lot, I had already hit the ever-loving lottery. I was born a citizen of the United States of America. I was blessed. My life has never been defined by the things I didn't have. It's been defined by the things I did have. Things like my mom. Things like my immigrant stepfather. Things like my friends and my family. The fact that I grew up in a society where we valued education. A society that encouraged me to think independently and not to just conform to what everybody else was doing. That trained me to do the right thing, even when it was hard, and especially when nobody was watching. Because of all of that, because all of the people in my life, and because of public education and state universities, I was able to get an education, and I was able to use that education to help people. I worked in special education. I worked in human services trying to help folks with disabilities or major mental illness. I worked with unhoused folks and was a job coach and a housing advocate for people. And later, talk about hitting the lottery, I was able to get a big old scholarship and a bunch of federal loans to go and get a law degree. Imagine that. Oh, me. Growing up in a trailer in the middle of nowhere, being able to grow up, and I was going to become an attorney. And where did I go with this law degree? What did I do? For a year, I interned as a public policy analyst for Boston City Councillor Tito Jackson. This is at the same time when now Mayor Michelle Wu and Congressman Ayanna Pressley were also in the council. Heck of an alumni class. I worked for then Attorney General Maura Healey as a student loan advocate, trying to help people who'd been scammed out of their money by these student loan repayment scams. Then I got into HIPAA compliance and data privacy while working at Boston Medical Center, and now I do privacy law for a state agency. And why am I running for city council now? Well, I'd be lying to you if I told you I hadn't been thinking about it before. Peabody suffers from incredible gridlock. There are some simple strategies like expanding school busing that we could explore to try to get some cars off the road. Peabody schools don't seem to be getting the funding that they truly need. Every year it seems like our school budget has to take a haircut, where we just laid off a bunch of staff this last year, and facilities don't seem to be properly maintained all the time. I mean, 2 of my kids went to center school where there was a leak in the roof and a mold problem that resulted. Not to mention the fact we're in the middle of an environmental crisis, and we, within the last couple of years, built a brand new fossil fuel burning plant on city property with city approval, the approval of many of our elected leaders. I could go on. But there are a couple things that really made it so that in 2025, I knew I had to run. First, this happened when Donald Trump lost in 2020.
But on January 6th, for the first time, I was more afraid to work at the Capitol than my entire deployment to Iraq.
I was grabbed, beaten, tased, all while being called a traitor to my country.
One woman in a pink MAGA shirt yelled, "You hear that, guys? This voted for Joe Biden." Then the crowd, perhaps around 20 people, joined in screaming, "Boo!" No one had ever called me a while wearing the uniform of a Capitol Police officer. It was a war that we fought, and a war is composed of a bunch of different battles. And everybody, even sitting at this table, fought a different battle that day, but it was all for the same war.
To me, those individuals are, representative of the worst that America has to offer.
And he kept saying stuff like this while he was running for re-election after that.
We got a lot of work to do. They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just the 3 or 4 countries that we think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world. They're pouring into our country. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
There have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
And now he's doing this.
Federal agents and troops gathered at a park for what appeared to be an immigration-related operation, but the mayor claims the only thing interrupted was a children's summer camp.
This morning, new questions after federal agents descended onto MacArthur Park in Los Angeles yesterday. 90 National Guard troops in tactical gear deploying to the mostly empty park. Officials only saying the troops were there to support immigration authorities.
What a disgrace.
But no arrests were reported during the troops' presence.
And this.
President Trump taking action to essentially shut down the Department of Education, signing an executive order with young students at his side and his new education secretary, Linda McMahon, right there in the room. The president saying the department is, quote, doing us no good.
And this.
President Trump ordering hundreds of National Guardsmen to take over policing in Washington, D.C., saying we could see them in the streets of D.C. in the coming weeks.
Make no mistake. Peabody is under a threat today unlike anything it has ever faced in its history. There is a violent and hostile political movement that is bent on exterminating our way of life, based on freedom, based on rationality, based on justice. A way of life that allows poor little boys who grow up in trailers to still become attorneys with a little bit of talent and a whole lot of luck. This movement is targeting Peabody seniors. It is pulling money out of their pockets. They are targeting Peabody students and ripping books out of their hands. They are targeting Peabody immigrants and denying them their God-given human rights. This is not the time for head in the sand leadership, people. What we are experiencing today is the fight for freedom, for human freedom. We can no longer enjoy our quiet little lives and imagine that our choices have no effect on the wider world. And the decisions of our local leaders are going to have tremendous impact over the next few years. If you understand the historic hour in which we find ourselves, if you refuse to meekly surrender your rights to some outrageous tyrant, and you want local leaders to start treating this threat with the seriousness it deserves, well, you and I, we agree on the things that matter. So that's a little bit about me and what I think we're up against. You can hit me up at Tristan@planforpeabody.com, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, or just go to our website, planforpeabody.com, and you can sign up for an email list there. Let my campaign know what issues are important to you. Be sure to vote November 4th, and we'll see you on the campaign trail.